Dylan, not so much. I've covered similar stories to this, and typically you see a flock, just a slew of officers surrounding hospitals when one of their own is recovering or being treated, but that's not the case here. But clearly we understand why. There's still a heavy scene out at Circus Circus, as well as that officer-involved shooting down near the courthouse, the federal courthouse. But nonetheless, like you mentioned, the scene is there, Dylan. Here, the same. It is somber. Everything is very tense out here. We've been seeing police officers come in and out of the hospital. Like you mentioned, this all began with peaceful protests. It's quite sad that these protests started at one point. We saw images of protesters high-fiving police officers. So for the night to end like this is very disheartening and extremely tragic. Listen to what Joe Lombardo had to say.
This is a sad night for LVMPD family and a tragic night for our community. With these protests, which are leading to riots, one tragedy is only leading to another.
And that's exactly right. BLM protesters even speaking out this morning because Las Vegas is not the city experiencing tragedy this morning. In St. Louis, 4 police officers have been hospitalized after being shot there. So what we're seeing throughout the country are these peaceful protests, some solidarity and unity during the day, and at night, complete chaos. And that is not the goal or the message what BLM organizers say of these protests. We're going to continue to monitor the situation out here. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with that officer that is recovering at this hour, but that is the latest here at UMC. Guys, let me send it back to you.
And such a turn of events, Faven. Earlier this week, we were hearing from Under Sheriff Kevin McMahill saying they support peaceful protests. They were going to be on the Strip to make sure that those remain peaceful. And last night's terrible events, and now you're outside of UMC monitoring an officer's condition this morning. Can you talk more about the feeling there? I know you said it was pretty tense and that usually you'd expect more officers, but if you can just talk a bit more about what the overall vibe is there.
Obviously very tense. It is daytime now, Alyssa, and what we have seen are tensions easing and calming down once the sun comes up. So everyone here just walking around, very somber faces. You can kind of cut the air, the tension here with a knife. It's very thick, and for the most part, everyone involved in whether you're a protester or with law enforcement, you've wanted these protests to go off very peacefully without a hitch. People are allowed to exercise their First Amendment right, but what people aren't allowed to do is destroy property or attack whether it's officers, each other, or the media. We've seen a lot of those images this week, which is what is so frustrating. We start off the day with beautiful images, chants, singing, hugs, high fives, and for things to end like this is just tragic. Again, that officer at this hour on life support. Sheriff Lombardo earlier mentioning that he's in grave condition. So that's not the outcome that I don't think anyone on either side of this issue wanted to see. And while you have a police force that is trying to protect the streets of Las Vegas here in the Valley, now they're having to worry about their safety and the lives of one of their own officers. So it's frustrating. Lots of anger probably out here as well, because where do we go from here? That's the next question. Last night was day 5 of these protests that got out of control. And will we see the same thing again? No one wants to see any more violence on our streets. So yeah, Alyssa, a lot of those type of conversations happening out here this morning as well.